She sits in the dark, eyes glued to the screen. Her heart flutters when she sees your name in the old chat threads. She rereads, remembers, and faintly smiles. But her fingers never type another word to send. She stays silent, hidden, leaving you to wait. And you, in the middle of the night, can't take your eyes off the phone. You ask yourself, does she still remember me? In this silence, is she thinking about me? The question twists like a blade, trapping you in a never-ending game where she observes while you sit and gnaw on your own weakness. But today, I will show you the truth behind that silence. Why she disappears. Why she watches from a distance. And more importantly, how you can flip the entire game without begging a single time. Listen carefully, because after this video, you will not see her and you will not see yourself the old way anymore. This is Victory Stoic. This is the camp for men who are tired of chasing, of doubting, of being bound by silence. Here, we do not beg. We forge steel. We build stoic warriors who know when to be silent, who know how to hold frame, and who know how to lead a life. If you believe knowledge can change destiny, join in. Comment one word Stoic to seal your vow. Like this video, share it with a brother who needs a wake-up call, and subscribe to continue this journey. This is not entertainment. This is a weapon, and it is time you learned how to use it. Number 1. Her battle inside the silence. On the outside, she still laughs and talks. She still posts photos going out a bright morning cocktail, a carefree caption like nothing happened. But inside, a battle is raging. It is not peace. It is chaos. One half of her wants to text right away, wants to write, "Are you well? I miss you." But the other half pulls her hand back. No. Do not be weak. Do not let him see you need him. That is the battle of the female ego. Psychology calls it the ego defense mechanism. When a woman misses you, she still has to restrain herself to keep a strong image. She fears that a single message would make her the loser. Longing and fear intertwine, turning her heart into a battlefield. Here is a story. Sarah, 28, works in PR in New York. After the breakup, every night, she opens Mark's photos, her ex. She even types half a message, "Are you okay then?" Deletes it. Over and over, her phone screen fills with lines that get swallowed back. The next morning, she still posts a smiling photo, still wears a red dress to the event. Everyone thinks she is radiant, but only she knows she lost dozens of battles in her heart the night before. Meanwhile, men often lose in the opposite way. Behavioral psychology points out an action bias in men. Under stress, they must act to reduce anxiety. She goes silent, he texts nonstop. She steps back, he steps forward. And that very reaction exposes a man's hand. The woman remembers, but stays silent. The man remembers and reacts. One side lives in constriction, the other dies in panic. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A person's strength lies in remaining calm before the very storm within." This is not for men only. It paints the woman's portrait in silence, a violent storm inside. But on the outside, she smiles and lets the world believe she is fine. To put it humorously, the green scene on your screen is not a sign of indifference. It is like a cold side glance on a battlefield. She fires a glance, then retreats, letting you fall by yourself in the empty space. And you, poor thing, open your phone 70 times, while she opens your photos 70 times. Yet both lose because the ego will not allow either to press send. This battle matters, but do not assume you have won just because she misses you. Missing does not equal messaging. That ego, the fear of rejection, the fear of being seen as weak, will be analyzed more deeply later. For now, carve in one truth: she also hurts, she also misses you. But her ego forces her to hide it in silence. That is the beginning of the game you must understand. And number 2, the power of silence on the man's side. Silence is a weapon, but only when you wield it like a warrior, not tremble with it, like a heartbroken man hiding in a cocoon of pain. Millions of men choose silence after a breakup, but only a very small number actually make her uneasy because of that silence. Most of the rest are only silent while waiting for her message. And when it does not come, they melt like ice cream under the Texas noon sun. Jake is one of them. He has 33 lives in Austin, Texas, a software engineer. After his girlfriend broke up with him, Jake decided to play it cool. He stopped texting, removed couple photos, no interactions on social media. The first moves were textbook. But every night, Jake still opened her Instagram. He zoomed in on photos, read captions, combed through comments, analyzed every emoji like an FBI expert reviews evidence. One night, he saw her story dinner with a guy with a mole near his lip. A few minutes later, Jake hit unfollow. 2 hours after that, he followed again. That was how Jake did silence. In truth, Jake was not silent. He was screaming through uncontrolled silence. And women can smell that from afar. She does not respond, not because she does not see, but because she is unmoved. A man who seems cold while exploding inside does not create attraction. A man who is truly silent because he is living, working, sharpening skills, training at the gym, moving forward, that is the man who makes a woman uneasy. Why? Because she is no longer sure you care. She does not know whether you are hurting. And that not knowing is where fear begins. That is where you start appearing in her mind every night when she goes to bed, when she folds her hands behind her head and wonders, why has he not come back? Why is he silent, as if I never existed? Psychology calls this the scarcity effect. When someone who used to give you their full attention suddenly vanishes without leaving emotional traces, the other person's brain starts reading that silence as a sign of real loss. And loss triggers the fear of abandonment. That is when she begins to feel regret. Silence, when used properly, is not an empty space. It is a declaration, I do not need you to exist. I am fine. And if you do not see my value, I will leave without fanfare. It is a calm that cuts. Women may forget your words, but they never forget the feeling that they no longer hold control. At that moment, you become a question mark in her mind, not a beggar for answers. I am not telling you to be heartless. I am telling you to be absolutely disciplined. Do not like her stories. Do not accidentally text. Do not post photos with cryptic quotes. Live as if you never needed her validation. Let her feel that loss with no fake exit ramps. Men do not whine in captions. Men answer with disciplined silence and visible progress. Here is the problem. Most men cannot endure 3 days of silence without checking social media. They want to hold frame, yet they let it leak out through every click. They think silence means turning off the phone, but forget that women do not remember a man who is merely silent. They remember the man who no longer needs them. One day she will wake up and realize, wait, where is he? And if you have done it right, living right, training right, moving forward right, that moment will be when she feels your absence most deeply. Not because you forced her. Because she asks herself, did I just lose a valuable man? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The victor is not the one who shouts, but the one whose inner life does not shake under the lash of life." Keep silent not to trigger a reaction from her. Keep silent so you stand firm as a true man, no matter who leaves, no matter who dismisses you. Jake could not do that. You can. You do not need to play the seen and unseen game. You do not need to strain yourself. You only need to live. When you live fully, your silence becomes a legend in her mind. And that is when she begins to wonder, to feel restless, and then to regret. Number 3, don't be foolish enough to believe her happy pictures online. She smiles in the photo, bright face, light curls in her hair, a flowing white dress, a glass of wine tilted at the perfect angle. The caption reads casually, "This Friday is lovely." You see that photo and feel your chest tighten. You ask yourself, has she really forgotten me? How can she be this happy while I can barely breathe at night? But that's the naive mistake men often make. Believing in the image, believing in the staging, believing that good lighting and a fake smile online is the truth. Don't be dumb. Don't be blind. Don't believe it. Because you don't see what happens after that photo. You don't see the moment she sets the phone down, sits still for a few seconds, and reopens your old messages. You don't see her taking 30 shots just to pick the best one, brightening it, erasing the dark circles, adding a filter, attaching a caption, as if her heart is pumping happiness. You don't see her eyes dim when no text from you arrives like before. She posts not because she's happy, but because she wants you to see. She wants you to think she's doing better than you. She wants you to question, did she ever really love me? And the moment you doubt your own value, she wins. This is an unconscious emotional strategy. What psychology calls triangulation, making someone jealous, making them feel replaced, making them lose control. And social media is the perfect tool for it. One click, one photo, one caption, and you're already trapped in the hole dug by your own ego. Remember this, the more someone needs to prove, the less stable they are. A woman who's truly okay doesn't need to post anything. She lives. She doesn't try to look okay. Silence without explanation is the real sign of moving on. And she hasn't moved on, but she wants you to believe she has, so that you're the one who loses control first. And if you take the bait, you'll text, you'll like, you'll post a cryptic caption in return. And by doing so, you're pulling the knife out of your chest only to stab yourself again. Let me tell you about Ethan, 40, a creative director in San Diego. After his fiancée called off their wedding, Ethan chose silence. No accusations, no drama. He simply removed all their photos from Instagram, turned off comments, and vanished. A week later, she posted a rooftop party picture with an old coworker Ethan once saw in a Zoom call. Caption, "Finally realizing what I truly deserve." Ethan saw it. His fists clenched, but he didn't react. He turned off his phone, went boxing, called some friends to go hiking. That night, he wrote in his journal, "This is the time to forge myself, not to retaliate." 3 weeks later, she texted, not an apology, just one line, "I see you're doing fine," and that makes me think a lot. Ethan's success wasn't in revenge, it was in discipline. When you don't react, she begins to wonder, she begins to analyze, she begins to doubt her own attractiveness. And when a woman begins doubting her own value, that's when she spirals. She rethinks, she remembers the good you did. And in that moment, you control the game without saying a word. The Stoics said nothing is stronger than the non-reaction of a self-governed mind. You don't need to fight her. You only need to fight yourself. Your weakness, your ego, your urge to react. And if you can do that, you rise from heartbreak as an unshakable man. So instead of staring at her photos, trying to guess her emotions, look at yourself and measure your growth. Replace doubt with action. Let your muscles, your skills, your new achievements be the answer to every happy caption she posts. Because you weren't born to chase filters. You were born to create real impact. Number 4. When your heart still hurts, how can you stay silent? You want to be silent. You know it's the right thing. But your hands keep reaching for the phone. Your heart jumps at every notification sound. You tell yourself you're fine, that you don't care anymore. But at night, you go back to her Facebook. You watch her stories. You scroll her old photos. You reread old chats. Like a man committing slow, emotional suicide. You know it. You've done it. Many times. Silence is not easy, especially when love is still raw, when your heart is burning with words, but there's no door to say them without lowering yourself. She keeps posting pictures, keeps smiling, keeps checking in at romantic spots with light-hearted captions like, "Nothing ever happened." And you keep opening the app, closing it, opening again, over and over like a ritual of heartbreak, disguised under, "I'm fine." The truth is, you can't just force silence, because your heart doesn't obey. It betrays you, and your brain is addicted to dopamine, that rush you used to get from her text, her call, even just seeing her read receipt. Now it's gone, and like an addict cut off from his supply, you tremble. You try to replace it with gym, with meditation, with self-help. But one song, one photo, one joke that reminds you of her, and you collapse. So the solution is not to endure silence. It's to redirect all that energy into something else. Something you can control. A Stoic man doesn't just sit there and take emotional blows. He counters with action. That's the only way not to go insane, not to turn weak, not to beg. And above all, to turn silence into your sharpest weapon. Start by creating an emotional quarantine zone. Turn off notifications, unfollow, delete apps if necessary. Don't block her only to sneak back in with a burner account. That's self-torture. You don't need to know what she ate today, what she wore, or who she went out with. You need to know how you overcame the emotional craving today. Second, reprogram your dopamine rewards. Instead of waiting for her texts to feel worthy, start recording small wins, waking up on time, finishing your workout, completing work goals. Write them down, reward yourself. Your brain will learn to feel worthy again without her. Third, write. Not to send, to unload. Every time you feel the itch to text, open your notes and write, "What do I want to say? Why do I want to say it? And what will happen if I say it?" 90% of the time, you'll realize you don't need to say anything. You just needed a place to vent, and her inbox is no longer that place. And finally, keep a mirror in front of you. Not to admire, but to measure. Measure whether you're growing or shrinking for someone who already turned away. Every day you pass without texting, without stalking, without self-sabotage, that's progress. That's discipline. And that discipline, one day she will notice, if she's worthy. And if she doesn't, even better. Because you will have reclaimed yourself. A man who no longer lets his heart drive blind, but steers with reason, even in the storm. Remember, this silence is not a tactic to bring her back. It's the path to bring yourself back. And that is the battle worth winning. Number 5, turn silence into a lethal strike. A man's silence, when used correctly, is not just a disconnect to numb the pain, but an unspoken declaration sharp as a blade. Silence is not to make her regret, but to make you the man she cannot dare to forget. Imagine she once held the rope. Every time you texted, called, worried, or got angry, she controlled a button of your emotions. One frown of hers ruined your appetite. One cold scene stole your sleep. One vague story sent you spiraling, guessing if the shadow in that post was another man. And then you reacted. You collapsed. She didn't need to lift a finger. You hurt yourself. But then you vanish. No texts, no likes, no online status, no updates. 1 day, 3 days, a week. At first she thinks you're sulking. She stays cool, keeps posting with friends, keeps captioning selfies with healing. But inside a question creeps in. Is he actually forgetting me? She starts checking, opens your profile, sees if you still follow, checks if you view her story, and discovers nothing. No bait, no hook, no reaction. That's when you appear in her mind as a mystery. She remembers, but she doesn't understand. And it's that not understanding that becomes your knockout punch. Silence, when it comes from a man broken and curled up in the corner, is just sulking. But silence from a man hitting the gym building himself, signing new deals, learning a new language, grinding late into the night on his project. That silence is power. It doesn't need to announce itself. It simply exists through absence. She once thought you'd never dare walk away, but now she sees not only did you leave, you never looked back. And that defiance crushes her heart without you saying a word. A guy from Texas, Jack, once told his story. After his breakup, he never texted. No blocking, no unfollowing, no let's stay friends, just silence. He buried himself in training, running at 5 a.m., starting his own podcast, and at night, went to bed early. His mind wasn't on her, but on the startup plan he had shelved for 2 years. 2 months later, a message from his ex, "I dreamed you hurt your leg from running. Are you okay?" It wasn't concern. It was a test, her way of checking if he was still soft. Jack simply replied, "Thanks. Now I run faster than dreams." That was it. One line. She panicked. She worried. She realized this man was no longer the man she left. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Nothing is stronger than mastery over oneself." And your silence, when it truly comes from self-mastery, is a force no woman is immune to. She can act strong, she can play games, but she cannot fight a man who no longer needs an audience. Don't post cryptic stories. Don't write healing captions laced with sarcasm. Don't message her friends hoping rumors get back to her. Do that and you lose the mystery. You turn into a defeated man begging for attention. True silence requires no effort. Funny thing is, women don't fear your silence. They fear your silence while you grow. They fear your silence while you get fitter, richer, more confident, more desired. That's the kind of silence they can't ignore. The kind of silence that forces them to break theirs. And if you have enough patience, enough strength, that silence becomes the loudest thing you've ever said. "I don't need to find you anymore, because I've found myself." Closing, she's waiting. Not for your text, not for your apology. She's waiting to see if you'll break or if you'll stand. She watches in silence, scrolling through your traces, asking herself, is he still hurting? And if you speak, if you react, you lose. You confirm her deepest belief that you're still there, still trapped. But if you stay silent with strength, if you not only stay silent, but rise higher, if you turn longing into fuel, pain into discipline, and silence into the emblem of your inner power, then she's the one who will panic in the quiet. This is no longer a game of who texts first. It's the revolution of a man who chose growth over chasing. She's waiting, but you must stay silent. And that silence, when it comes from a mind steady as stone, is the one thing she cannot resist. If you see yourself in this journey, don't just scroll away. Like, share, subscribe. Comment 1 if you choose to keep silence with steel discipline. Comment 0 if you're still wrestling inside. And tell your story, because somewhere another man is also silent and needs to know he's not alone. Victory Stoic, where silence becomes the ultimate counterattack.